So right now I am once again unable to use the water to this tap, in spite of multiple written and verbal notifications to the Greenville Group regarding the safety, quality, and usability of the water that comes out of this tap and of the two other taps in this unit. The Greenville Group have chosen to ignore and fails to respond to any and all written and verbal notices about the interference of the delivery of clean, safe, usable, treated tap water to the tap to the sink and to the tap to my bathroom and to the tap to my shower. The Greenville Group have been not just harboring and housing large numbers of sex offenders, career criminals, and psychopaths who then claim to be BLM activists. The Greenville Group have been encouraging and reportedly paying these criminals to engage in some very harmful, deliberate, targeted criminal activity towards myself and the utilities in this unit that prevents me from being able to use the utilities and the space in this unit as I need to and when I need to. The Greenville Group have an extensive history of being criminally cited by the Boston Inspectional Services Department for the interference of the delivery of functioning heat in this unit, usually during the winter months, but also in the summer. They had the heat blasting in here back in August, and that seems to have stopped. I mean, I haven't noticed any excessive heat in here since I complained to Inspectional Services about it at the end of August. There has also been 6 years worth of written and verbal notices to the Greenville Group regarding some kind of interference connection between the plumbing system of the bathroom behind this wall and the safety and usability of the tap water as it comes out of this tap. The Greenville Group are paying and sponsoring a career criminal named Jasmine Irizarry, who has bragged about her abilities in terms of technical and infrastructure-related crimes. Because she's a stupid criminal, she likes to brag about what she does. She seems to think that because she gets paid by the Greenville Group, and specifically Oleg Galisiev at the Greenville Group, to engage in all kinds of surveillance-based criminal acts and activities towards myself and my tenancy, that it's okay to brag about it, because apparently she's stupid and she sees Mr. Galiseyev's sponsorship of her criminal abilities and acts as some type of, shall we call it like a stamp of approval, like legitimacy. The fact that the Greenville Group is paying Jasmine Irizarry to engage in the crimes that I keep observing, noticing, and experiencing personally on a firsthand basis regarding the interference of the delivery of utilities to this unit, then she brags about it because she thinks it's okay. So I have written comments on the part of Jasmine Irizarry claiming that she is using/not using a saddle valve system, which is a very easy, cheap, easy to use piece of hardware to contaminate and interfere with the delivery of clean, treated Boston water to this tap. The water that comes out of this tap right now is not water. It has an extremely corrosive, stinging, burning, tingling chemical contaminant in it that I keep having to go down the hall to the common bathroom to rinse off, or use clean water bottles to rinse off. I cannot use this tap, and it only becomes noticeably and tactically contaminated when I try to fill up containers such as water bottles for drinking, or this container where I have to wash my clothes. I can't use the laundry across the street because the Greenville Group are permitting large numbers of violent sex offender males to loiter around in front of the door to the laundry. And there's no way in hell I'm ever going to approach that door with like 5 masturbating creeps standing in front of it. And when I say masturbating, I'm not even exaggerating. I was accosted last night by a male tenant from the 191 Green Street building as I was approaching the door to this building on my way back from this store across the street. And this male tenant approached me and started loudly masturbating in the middle of Union Ave when I was like 15 feet from the door. So he was openly and loudly masturbating. He wasn't even trying to hide it. This was at 10 p.m. So when I say that they're masturbating pervert psycho trash, I'm not joking. The other interesting thing that I have noted and mentioned in prior videos is the propagation and deliberate aerosolization of very toxic, harmful aerosolized chemicals that form a very corrosive powder that then coats everything that it lands on, including my bed sheets, my table, and my food. When I try to eat out of open containers, all of a sudden there's this like spray in the air around wherever I happen to be sitting, and it could be throughout the unit. when I try to eat, or, I mean, you can feel this powder, and I've made videos about that in the past. There's like a gritty powder that seems to land all over everything in this unit selectively based on the personal activities I happen to be engaging in when this powder suddenly gets propagated. This isn't science fiction. It's actually really easy for people to do this. I was watching YouTube videos the other day of criminals caught on camera trying to literally smoke out their neighbors by blowing and propagating and spraying toxic chemicals under their front doors to try to literally smoke them out with toxic chemicals. These criminals were neighbors who didn't like their other neighbors, and they were spraying literally cans of toxic chemicals into the little gap under their front doors into their homes. So the fact that the Greenville Group is housing large numbers of mentally disturbed, psychopath, homicidal sex offenders like Jasmine Irizarry, Jason DaCosta, who else is definitely a homicidal piece of shit around here? Let me name names. A member of the staff, actually, Robert McLean. So these pieces of shit are career criminals who are homicidal, if not have already actually killed people. They have homicidal tendencies. And so when there is literally a coating of a very acidic, corrosive powder that suddenly shows up all over the surfaces in this unit, usually when I sit down to try to eat something, and then I have to cover all of my food. Do you see all of these coverings right here? I have to cover everything because this powder lands all over my food. And then when it gets into my food, it instantly burns the inside of my mouth. I feel like I just drank napalm. And then if you swallow it, it causes instant, sudden, violent stabbing and cramping under the rib cage, which means it's affecting the diaphragm and possibly the liver. This is highly toxic. When your liver starts to literally experience stabbing pains within minutes of you having ingested something that a white corrosive powder has just landed all over, then you know that this is highly toxic. I also have to keep my water bottles and other large drink containers wrapped up in plastic because it's the same problem. The white corrosive powder that seems to also be in that water. I mean, if you have a toxic powder, why not put it in the water supply when you have access to somebody's intake pipe using a saddle valve, right? So if I do not take all of these extra measures to cover up very basic daily items such as bottles of water, containers of yogurt, coffee and peanut butter jars that when you open the lids, all of a sudden the white powder, the corrosive, burning, stinging, acidic powder gets inside, and then your entire container is ruined and contaminated. I would never do all of this if it wasn't making me violently ill and burning the inside of my mouth for a good hour and a half or several hours after I eat food that has had this white, acidic, burning, stinging powder landing all over it. This started happening approximately a year and a half ago, and I started noticing it back in 2023. We are now in September of 2025, so this has been just a little under 2 years. I started noticing this in the spring of 2023. I don't know what changed in terms of the career criminals agenda as provided to them by the Greenville Group's management. Mr. Aleseyev and Alex Kritnik, the property manager, are reported members of Russian organized crime, according to 6 separate people who came up to me individually over the course of 2 years when I was out and about and told me, I can name names, but I'm not going to name names on this video, obviously, but they can serve as witnesses. They told me that Alex Kritnik and Oleg Aleseyev, they did not name them specifically. They said, your property owners and the property manager are Russian organized crime, and that they're using this property as a money laundering operation, which is why nothing ever gets fixed. Things break down. The career criminal, low-life, sex offender trash are allowed to literally run the asylum, so to speak. They don't respond to legitimate concerns of things that don't work. I have notified them that there's a rodent infestation in this unit for months, and they have completely failed to respond to the fact that there are mice in here. I have photos of bread. Let me show you. The lens on this camera absolutely sucks. But do you see this giant hole right here eaten through this bread? This is a brand new loaf of bread. I never even opened the top of it to see how the top of it is still sealed the way that it's sealed in the store. There are mice that literally chewed through the plastic and have eaten a giant hole in the bottom of this bread loaf. That's a rodent infestation, not just one rodent, but probably several, because there's a giant crater that was eaten out of the back of this loaf of bread that was a beautiful loaf of bread that I didn't even touch before it got eaten by the rodents in here. And I've been sending notices to the Greenville group about this for months. And do they ever respond? No, because they're criminally negligent slumlords that, according to 6 separate people who walked up to me in various locations, like Housing Corps, like FedEx, like a Russian restaurant in Newton. Oh, the Greenville group, you better watch out. Those property managers, they're Russian mafia. You're not safe there. They hit below the belt. They play dirty, et cetera, et cetera. And apparently they're using this building as a money laundering operation. So you know what? Once again, we have a RICO case just waiting to be explored here, along with a rodent infestation that is unaddressed and ignored by the property managers.